Well, good afternoon, everyone. I got to tell you something. When I was a kid, I drove my parents crazy. I was never one of those kids who would take anything at face value. Every time I'd hear something, the question would be, why? Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to go to school? Why shouldn't I stick the fork in the outlet? And of course, after the why question came the how question. I wanted to know how the thing happened, which usually ended up with some kind of splat or some kind of crash or the, Mom! I was not one who was going to believe something just because somebody told me. I wanted to experience it. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. I wanted to touch it with my own hand. And sometimes I even experienced it with my own nerve endings, I'll tell you. I wanted to know for myself. Now, with my history in mind, you may be able to figure out why this whole doubting Thomas thing was causing me some trouble. Just so we are all on the same page, doubting Thomas, that's usually used as some kind of disparaging thing. Oh, he's a doubting Thomas. As if wanting to know why was something bad. And this came from the gospel reading that we had today. So, I was one of those kids, I wanted to know. I wanted to see. Tomorrow, I'm going over to the other side of the state there to watch the rocket take off. Because I want to be shaken by the sound. So, when I got into the church, and the first time I had to preach on doubting Thomas, I was really troubled by this. It bothers me. It's kind of weird that we are told that Thomas is a bad person. This whole doubting Thomas. I think I'm not the only one who likes to know. Am I right? Yeah, we want to know. So, why should we feel ashamed of wanting to know the facts? Why is it that it seems like if we go ahead on blind faith, that's the good thing? And if we do have questions, why are we a bad person? Why are we the doubting Thomas? We are the one that is often made to feel like we just don't have enough faith. And personally, as the one who's always conducting the experiments, I didn't like being told that I didn't have enough faith. So when I got to seminary, here it is. Got to preach on this. Now I could have taken the easy way out. And I could have preached on one of the other parts. That's sometimes, if you don't want to preach on something, especially in the Episcopal Church, there's like 3 other readings we can pick from. It's like, sometimes, I don't want to deal with that, so I'll take some of those other ones. But I put it as a challenge to myself. I'm going to really take this one on and see what it has to say. And if, in fact, I found out that doubting Thomas is not something you want to be, then I would have to work on that. But I wanted to do it. So, I got there, I started reading through the story, and then it hit me. Yes, I got to that phrase. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet come to believe. Now at this point, if I had good sound effects, I would make the sound of a record, a needle getting scratched off and say, what? What are they talking about there? But it's there, right there. Jesus' mouth in the good old red and white, because of course every good Bible has Jesus' words in red. So, right there, in the print, in red and white, Jesus is telling us, Jesus is telling Thomas, and by me by extension, that if I want proof, then I'm not blessed. And unfortunately, so often that is the message that comes out. That is what we hear. That's what we interpret it. You know, sure, Jesus provides Thomas with his hand. Says, touch them, touch my side. See this. Jesus provides it. But so often we're led to believe that it's like, okay, you can touch it. You should have been able to believe it. But since you don't have enough faith, I'll let you touch. Now that sounds totally wrong to me, and I hope it sounds totally wrong to you too. Are we bad Christians because we doubt? As I said, I guess some faith traditions would give a wholehearted yes! You are supposed to believe without ever questioning. Some would say that if we have true, strong faith, that there would be no room for doubt. Well, I would guess that I have no strong faith because I'm doubting all the time.
Amen.
This interpretation of Jesus rebuking Thomas for asking proof just totally hits me. It sounds like we have to be totally strong people all the time, that we can't ever doubt Christ's presence. We can't ever ask for anything. And I don't know about you, but when I think about that, it seems weird, because so often when my faith is at its weakest is when I want to go to Jesus and say, help. But if we're told that the only time we can do that, the only faith we can have is when we're strong, well, it seems like then when I'm at my weakest, I'm supposed to be ashamed. But I think, truthfully, that this actually gives us an entirely different way of looking at things if we think about it. Jesus doesn't abandon Thomas in his time of need. Thomas asks, and Jesus is there. Now, really, Thomas is not asking for anything that was not given before. If we look at it, it says Jesus was there the day before. Jesus was present, and everybody got to see it. Except for Thomas, who was out doing something we don't know. But he wasn't stuck in the room, locked away. He was out. And Jesus showed them. Now that Thomas comes later, and Jesus shows him again, supposedly he's doubting. Some may say that Thomas was lacking the faith because he didn't see. But we're forgetting that those other people needed something to see to believe also. We forget that Mary Magdalene told them that she had seen the Lord, but they weren't going to believe her. They weren't going to believe that. It wasn't until they saw themselves. Jesus provided the disciples with what they needed. Jesus provided Thomas with what he needed. I believe Jesus provides us with what we need. But what about that comment that Jesus makes about those who believe without seeing? Isn't that kind of a slap in the face? Seems like it. We do have to admit, it's true, isn't it? You know, I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews. And there are times I want to tell them, yeah, believe me, don't do that. But they do it anyway, right? Do I want them to do it? No. Do I want them to have to experience the problems that go along with stuff like that? No. Do I wish they would have listened to me? Yes. But you know what? Do I love them any less? No. And you know what? They are going to do that. That's just the way it is. And I think if we listen to that and take that into what Jesus says, that's the truism. Jesus is like, this would be so much better if you would just believe it. And truly it would. But because we as people want the experience, we want to see, we want to touch Jesus, as the song would say, Jesus provides that for us. I don't see it so much as Jesus putting down Thomas, rebuking him, as some people would say, so much as kind of a little bit of consternation in that you just don't quite get it. So Jesus provides that for us. Now we have a problem. My training was in science. Where are the provable facts? I'm like, how do I do this? How do I get up there and say this? And really can't create an experiment to prove this. And so, I even have my graduate degrees in experimental psychology. So I'll tell you that to try to prove this happened is really difficult. But if we could prove it, would it be fake? No. If we can prove it, then it becomes something else. It becomes about us. If I can't prove this, then that means I can control it, and then I have something that, if I want something from God and I know how to do it, then I can control God and tell God what I want and do whatever. But that's not really the way it works out. It would really be nice, wouldn't it, if we could pray for something and we got an email from Jesus saying, this is going to work. I would even handle the Wicked Witch writing something in the sky for me. But it doesn't happen. If I want those things, so I am so sure, that becomes relying on me. That doesn't become relying on God. What I find interesting is that when people actually do get the opportunity to touch Jesus, like in the Easter story today, they know it. They know it's something when we truly feel the presence. We are in the community of others. If we look at the story of Mary Magdalene, what's the thing that Jesus says to her? I thought this was interesting. It's just Jesus and Mary alone. And Jesus says, don't touch me. But when he is together, when Thomas is in the upper room with the disciples, that is when the touch happens. I truly think when we actually have the ability to touch Jesus and when we are gathered together as the community, that's when we get the support. That's when we know what is going on. That's when we find that proof. Now this could spin off into a whole series of sermons, but I don't think you want to sit here for that. So I won't go into the whole series of sermons. But suffice it to say that God is aware of our needs. And God welcomes our doubts. Thomas is not the first in the Bible to ever ask for proof. We have Moses complaining, show me! We have Solomon in the Psalms, show me! David, excuse me, not Solomon. David, show me! And Job. There's some need of proof there. They all have their doubts. And they all bring those doubts before God. And in God's way, they are all answered. You know, we are created to doubt. If we didn't doubt, we would be gone a long time ago, because we would all be like picking up snakes and thinking they're the most wonderful thing in existence. We all have this doubt, we all have this thing. So, why would we be given this need to question and then be told that we're horrible because we do it? But we've also been given the community of faith that surrounds us. Those that were before us, those who come after us, they are there to help us with the proof that we need. And personally, I find that when I need proof, that it has been provided. It may not necessarily be in the way that I wish. You know, like I said, I would love to get a text message saying, this is going to happen in 2 weeks. So just hold on, keep it up. 2 weeks from now, everything will be okay. That doesn't happen. But from personal experience, although Jim and I have joked about having to live under the bridge, we've never had to. Things have come through. The proof has been there. It may not be the thing that I wanted, or the way we wanted it to go. But that's keeping things open, realizing that it may not be the right time yet. So, you know, we've been bounced around all kinds of places. And we joked around about living under a bridge, and just when we were joking that somebody needed their house to be set. So we had a place to live for a year. It's not something that we necessarily plan for, but it's something we rely on. That can't be quantified. And the science person in me shudders that I would even say something that we need to rely on that. But we need to rely on that. God does come through. And I'll tell you something. When those things come through, we don't have to ask. Is that a sign from God? We know. It's pretty clear when the sign comes through. Someday I'll tell you the story about the actual sign from God. Yes, a billboard. But that's a whole other story. So yeah, I think that Thomas really does get a bad rap. I think what it is that his story shows us that God is really quite okay with us seeking and with us questioning. That God gives us this inquisitive mind so that we can seek out the truth. If you think about it, the one thing that God wasn't okay with, I got that wrong. God was even okay with Thomas being out looking. You know, God doesn't sit there and say, Jesus doesn't say, you're bad because you were out and all these other people were here. Jesus says, just believe. So, to all of you Thomases out there, continue to doubt, continue to trust, continue to search, and continue to believe that your questions will be answered. Amen.